What's up, everyone? John Manson with the Cedar Red back again this week. And we got a special guest, new Liberty head soccer coach, Scott Wells, joining us. Coach Wells, how are you doing today?
I'm great, John. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to talk about Liberty soccer.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, is it soccer or is it football? What are we referring to it as?
I think I've lived over here too long now, so I call it soccer as well, and I get made fun of when I go home to visit my family. But yeah, I make it easier and just say soccer now.
Gotcha. Good stuff. Well, Merry Christmas, first of all, to you and to
You
your
too.
family, and Happy New Year. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, you're new at Liberty, just getting started with the Flames. Be the head soccer coach going into the 2026 season. We'll talk about that some here in a minute. But coming most recently from Gardner Webb, had a lot of success there. Top 10 national ranking, NCAA tournament appearance, NCAA tournament win. Big South Conference championship. Obviously, Liberty fans are familiar with the Big South and Gardner Webb. And previously, you were at UNC Greensboro, where you guys had a lot of success there too. I think you made the Elite Eight when you were at Greensboro as an assistant. So tell us a little bit about your coaching career and go back further than that if you like.
Yeah, I mean it's a humble one, but I think it set me up to be hungry and continue to keep trying to accomplish more goals and not being settled for the success that we were having currently at each stop. I was started in the NEIA at the University of Rio Grande in Ohio, and that's where I realized quite quickly that my passion was in recruiting, relationships, trying to help players on their journey. Once upon a time, I was in that position, and so kind of giving back, but also just the adrenaline rush of seeing a player move on and be successful was something that I was really interested in. So we had a lot of success at Rio. We won a national championship in my first recruiting class in 2015, and then went back to the national tournament and final again in 2016. And then wanted to test myself again. So I moved to Division II, to the University of Charleston in West Virginia. And, across the space of 2.5 years was lucky enough again to win another national championship in 17. And then in 19, they won another national championship as I was transitioning to UNCG. And UNCG, of course, I just wanted to test myself at Division One. Wanted to see what the hype was about. Wanted to see the difference in talent and resources. And UNCG is a fantastic program, very soccer specific. Doesn't have American football, so in the fall season, there's a lot of hype about men's soccer and women's soccer there. And I was very lucky to go in at a time when there was a transition, and they were competing with Furman in the Socon and Mercer and ETSU. And over the 4 years, we went to the national tournament 3 times and was lucky enough to obviously finish number 5 in the country in 2022 when we went to the Elite Eight, which was a memorable season. And so then the question mark came up as the kids were getting older, and my wife was curious as when it was time to be a head coach. And, we had a lot of opportunities that were presented to us in 2022. My wife is from Asheville. And so I took a leap of faith and went to Gardner Webb University, which, at that time obviously had 1 trophy in the office when I arrived, and it was the runners-up to the Big South, which was lost against Liberty. I think it was 2011, and so. I just wanted to kind of, again, it was all of my journey and my stops had kind of got me to the point where I felt like anything was possible if I continue to keep believing in myself and believing that I can turn this project around. And we had 3 incredible years. Transition year was the most important, where we learned exactly how these challenges are going to come about, and then went on a historic run in 2024. Won the Big South Championship and obviously advanced to the second round of the tournament. And then this current season just gone, 13 wins, again, finished 35 in the RPI. Absolutely should have been in the national tournament this year, which was unfortunate, but the committee decided to go in a different direction, but doesn't take away what we did. We lost 3 games across the course of the regular season, and very, very proud of what we've done there and built, and will always be supporting them. But super excited about the new challenge.
Yeah, so obviously a lot of success. You rattled off there without blinking twice about it. Everywhere you've been, lots of different levels. And now you come from Gardner Webb, like you said, top 10 national ranking, on the verge of a at-large bid last year. Went to the tournament in 24 as a Big South champions. Got a tournament win that year. Why did you choose to make the move to Liberty? What was it about the Flames that you thought was a right fit for you and your family, and why now?
Yeah, it's a great question, and honestly, it's a question that I'm asked probably every 24 hours by somebody. And when the interest first came about, I was very happy at Garner Webb. There was nothing broken. We were on a great trajectory of being able to continue the success and sustain what we have done. So I wasn't really looking, to be honest. And I always knew that the next move, I wanted to be a move that would allow me to compete for a national championship, but also allow my family to settle and for us to raise our family in an area, because we have jumped every 3 to 4 years, right? So as I went through the process, Ian McCaw and Erin Hagan made it perfectly clear what they were looking for, and it aligned with what I wanted, which was to be held accountable, and to be given a certain level of success that needs to be required for where Liberty Men's Soccer wanted to go. And that really excited me. And of course, the people and having that kind of mentality resonates with me and who I am and how I live my life every day. And so I was really, really impressed when I came on my visit. I brought my wife and children with me. I wanted them to see it as well. Of course, we were wowed by the facilities and the infrastructure that Liberty has, but also the people, and what they were wanting, and the players and what they were looking for. It just aligned. And so sometimes you just know in your gut and you feel it. And I think when we left Lynchburg that day, I'd made my decision. I knew what I wanted to do. And I believe we're in a fantastic position now to settle down and sustain the success here in Liberty.
Liberty's had a lot of success across the board in multiple sports, football, basketball, men and women. I could rattle off 15, 17 sports, winning conference championships at Conference USA level across the board. Men's soccer has been one that maybe hasn't had the same level of success, certainly in recent seasons. What are some things that you and your staff will kind of be focusing on as you kind of turn towards the fall, which, it'll be here before you know it, with the 2026 season? What are some things you're focusing on to try to help, turn this program around and get it to the level you want it to be at, competing nationally?
Yeah, I think one thing that's really important to note is usually when you come into a program, one of the number one things, the cliche things that every coach will say is culture. Like, we need to build a new culture. But I think Kelly did a fantastic job with the culture. And I've never met a team with such an amazing set of players that welcomed me when I first met them. And so I think that's from that standpoint, I think we're in a great position with the characters that we have in our team. Of course, I want to add some as well. I think on the field is probably where I want to see some improvements, to be completely honest. I think that there was a culture that that lived the right way every day, and I think Kelly lived through his process and his journey and wanted to develop these players to be great men. And for right or for wrong, just being transparent, I'm obsessed with the process of being successful on and off the field. So I think that there's probably an element of a different mentality and accountability on the field and then the same that's off it, and what Kelly's already created. So we're going to add some guys that, character-wise are going to be guys that I need to help. Not always guys that you bring into your program are going to be guys that are just ready and ready for what you want them to be. That's not what recruiting at the college level is about. What I enjoy doing is working with projects and helping these guys succeed and reach the expectations that they're not doing right now. So with that comes challenges, of course, but that's what I enjoy to do. But the upside of that is that they can win you championships. And that's exactly what I intend to do. So I think we have a perfect balance of the returning players that can show them exactly what Liberty is about and what it means and how we need to live our life every day. But then on the field, I think that the level and the expectation needs to be that there is consequences when we're not performing on the field, that we are in a results-based industry. And that doesn't just mean on the field, but it means how we prepare, how we recover, how we go to class, how we eat, how we sleep. All these things are really important to me. And I think we just need to combine the both. So I think I'm already off to a great start because culturally we're in a good spot. I just want to make sure on the field that we're probably increasing, especially with the introduction of us moving to the Socon. It's a 2-bid league right now, with UNCG and Furman having great seasons. So, no disrespect to the OVC, but we are moving into a position where we could be a 3-bid league. And that's exactly another pull for me is being around that kind of elite environment every day.
Awesome, good stuff. And I'm sure some of that success you've had and history you've had in the SoCon could probably help because you know what you have to go up against and what level this program has to be to get to compete at that level. Um, Obviously, winning's important, right? But taking it maybe a step further, what are Coach Wells' teams known for? What would be a successful at the end of the 2026 season? Obviously, you want to win a conference championship and compete nationally, but if you can sit back and say, this is what we were known for, and maybe some of your past teams, what have they been known for? What would be a successful first season for you at Liberty?
Yeah, I think our teams that I've had especially the teams I've had at Gardner Webb for the last 3 years, have definitely had a mentality of the underdog, right? And really kind of understanding that nothing is given. So running through brick walls for me doesn't come from me coaching; it comes from the relationships, right? So, I'm a big believer in when I commit a player to my program, that we're friends and we're family way after they graduate. So understanding and having players understand that this is a friendship and this is something that's beyond. And I think what you see from that on the field is that we work for 90 minutes and we're relentless in trying to get a result and trying to have that feeling of celebrating and creating memories together that we'll remember for the rest of our lives. So obviously from a football standpoint, it's a high pressing environment, a team that wants the ball. That's not always going to be the case, but figuring out, every day how we identify and how we accomplish those goals. It's not just me that's having to sit there and lead. We have guys that feel it as much as possible. I remember in 2023 at Gardner Webb, we brought in a very young team. It was certainly a transition year, but I remember at the end of the season, I took them to the College Cup and I took them to the Division II Elite Eight that was local, which actually Limestone were playing in that game. And I wanted them to see it. I wanted to see the excitement in the atmosphere, and I wanted them to feel like they'd missed out on that this year, right? And I remember a lot of the players saying to me after that, oh, I want to be in that every year. And so I really trying to get these guys up to speed with, okay, hey, this is what I'm obsessed with, and this is the passion that I have, and this is where I want to be, in December, and trying to have them replicate that and feel that as well. And that has to be organic. It can't be me just saying it. I have to bring guys in that are extremely passionate about wanting to be part of that process as well. And then, of course, after that, you remain friends, you remain family. Hopefully, I'm invited to their weddings. Those things are super important to me.
Obviously, recruiting is a big part of a successful program, and you've clearly had some success recruiting at your previous stops. Saw the announcement of a few transfers being added to the program. Is there any one position group or position that is more important for you as far as when you're recruiting and trying to get a program started the right way? Is there one group that you're kind of looking at that's the most important and vital to have the right guys at the right spots there?
I suppose everybody's going to say, number 9. I think we struggled this year at Gardner Webb with creating consistently in the final third because we didn't have our number 9. So everybody looks at that across the world, not just in the college level, right? But I think tactically and principle wise, for me, the goalkeeper and the central defenders have to be as technically gifted as anyone else on the field, right? They're not just there to do the basics in terms of heading it and tackling and covering ground. And if we want to be a possession-orientated team, if we want to have the ball, if we want to be composed in our play, then we have to have players that start the game, usually from the goalkeeper and the defensive side, that are good enough to have the ball and be confident and brave on the ball. So certainly goalkeepers and central defenders are a very, very big part of what we do. In the final third, we want to have freedom. I want to give those guys creativity and give them opportunity to go and express themselves and not worry too much. You may see a lot of times, with some of our guys in the final third where they lose the ball consistently, but the mentality piece is that they go and get it again, and they try again, and that's just part and parcel and the percentages of being in the final third. So yeah, it's kind of hard to navigate exactly what's the most important, but I would say, both sides, the goalkeeper and the central defenders for me tactically, and then, to win games, you need a top number 9 for sure.
For Liberty fans watching this and hearing from you for the first time, and maybe students or whatever, how can we best support you and this men's soccer program as the Flames move into this new era?
Yeah, I think when I got on campus and I seen the facility, I think me and my wife just looked at each other and started laughing because we were like, "Wow, this is incredible!" And so, I want to see those bleachers and filled with the fans. I want to, in the university. It was snowing a couple of weeks ago or last week, and you expect the campus to be closed. Well, it was closed, but you expect it to be quiet, not a lot of people around. There were so many students out there, right, playing American football in the snow and sliding down hills. And so I was thinking that's kind of a cool environment. Like, I'd love to be able to make sure that they know exactly when we're playing, who we're playing, especially as we get to crunch time in the final part of the season. Can we get as many fans out as possible to make this place as intimidating as possible, right? We had a lot of away games at Gardner Webb this past season, and there was some really intimidating crowds that we played against, right? High Point, West Virginia, and so we relish. I want my players to relish that environment, but there's nothing better than having that environment when the crowd's on your side. So I absolutely think it's a massive part of the transition is to try and get as many fans in the seats as possible.
Yeah, awesome. Well, good stuff. Well, Coach Wells, appreciate you taking the time to join us over your Christmas break, and we'll let you get back to recruiting. I know that's never-ending, nonstop stuff, and getting ready for the 2026 season, which will be here before we know it. And Liberty fans, Liberty students, get out there and support this men's soccer program. I think the ceiling is there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of potential under our new head coach, Scott Wells. Scott, appreciate your time, and Merry Christmas to you and your family once again.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Have a great Christmas, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.